Hi, we are on Sense 28, holy smokes, and it's a fun one today. So 28 is procreative urges, sex awareness, courting, love, mating, paternity, and raising young. So before we start, do your journal work, and then let's just chat about this for a second. So obviously, as human animals, we have the desire to procreate, and there are many hormones in our body, chemical interactions in our body that cause that to be a desire of ours. I remember for me realizing that this was connected way past my early 30s. So I'm not sure how old I was. But I was trying to get pregnant at that time. I think it was my early 40s, perhaps. I'm terrible with time, so it could be way off. In any case, I had just gotten married, and I was open to having a child. My partner wanted to have a baby. So I was off my birth control pills, and I remember I was going to acupuncture for some other things, and actually was going to acupuncture now, I remember this, because I had gone off my birth control pills, and I was afraid that I was going to have acne and other like hormonal stuff happen. So I was going to acupuncture, and I was telling him also how we were hoping to conceive as well. And so his suggestion was to listen to my body and to notice when I felt like having sex, because that's when I would be most fertile. And that had never occurred to me before. I did not realize that. I had been on the pill, first of all, for, I believe, 22 years. 22 years. So I didn't know what it felt like to have a normal cycle. I didn't remember that at all. I went on them, when I was young. So that was completely mind-blowing news to me. I remember going, what? Really? And then, duh, of course we want to have sex when we're fertile. Which is a big bummer to those of us who don't want to be getting pregnant. But that is my input for this sense today, that our bodies are naturally attuned to, of course, us procreating, right? And of course that makes sense. Of course that is true for all animals who procreate sexually. And so for today, I want to just have you reflect in your journal about this, that it really is, our bodies are designed to procreate, and it isn't a mental process, right? It's actually a sense that we have this sense to have sex, and our culture has turned it into all kinds of things so they can sell us stuff and made it mean other things as well. But it is a sense so our species can continue. So the other aspects of this, courting, love, mating, yep, those kind of all go with that too, I believe. Paternity and raising young. So I remember reading an article in, I think it was National Geographic, about hormones after you have a child as a woman, and basically, and before. So basically you have hormones that sort of cause you to fall in love with someone, to have a child with them, and those hormones last about 2 years, until the child is about 2 years old, and then they sort of start to fade away. And this is probably because after a child is 2, typically they're fairly stable, and they're probably going to survive. But until then, you need the mother really needs help from partner to keep that child alive, right? So, and we could go back to, as far as we wanted to in time and talk about what that looked like. But just in general, the woman needs help and protection so that your child can grow up. So at 2 years old, it becomes less necessary to have that. Still very helpful. So that's interesting, isn't it? That's so interesting. We tie it to all these things about, I've fallen out of love with someone, or things have really changed, when potentially it really could be just hormones. And the hormones that cause us to fall in love with our children, particularly females, but also males, and allows us to raise them and not treat them poorly when they're very, very irritating. So those are just kind of the facts of our body. Our bodies make babies all by themselves. Obviously, that's not an intellectual thing that we do. Our bodies are very self-sufficient at those kinds of things, and I would posit on many more things than we believe they are, than we're aware of that they are. So that's part of this getting to know ourselves through our senses as well, is to really recognize this magical body we're in, and how beautifully it keeps us in a state of health and wellness if we allow it to do so, if we actually listen to the signals that it gives us. There's another thing I wanted to comment on this. That is the how sexuality shows up for men and women. It's very interesting. I've just been reading the I believe it's a current college textbook on gender, and going back in time, sexuality, as far as it's associated with specific genders, is a very socialized construct. It's not really all that biological as far as how those roles play out, or how that sexuality plays out. So if you go back far enough, actually what's associated with men, like virility and maybe promiscuity, those were associated at one time with women. And the roles really have flip-flopped over time, just culturally, kind of depending on what's going on. It's so interesting. I will link that book below. I don't think I've linked that before. So I would just reflect on anything you have to reflect on with your sexuality and procreative urges, and anything that you have to notice about yourself, and journal about that. And I will see you next time.